In this homework problem, we're going to look at applications of integer multiplication. So let's read the directions. Represent the application problems using multiplication in symbolic form and evaluate. Notice it says place all negative numbers in the symbolic form in parentheses, and you'll use an asterisk, which is Shift 8, to represent multiplication. And there again it says how to enter it. So when you're using the symbolic form, you should type the asterisk in to represent that. So let's look at the first example. Sarah hiked down a mountain for 9 hours. Each hour her elevation decreased by 30 meters. Compute her change in elevations in meters relative to her starting point. So first we're asked to write a symbolic expression using multiplication that represents this problem. So she hiked for 9 hours, and each hour her elevation decreased by 30 meters. So negative 30 meters per hour. Okay, so we can think of this as 9 copies of negative 30 meters. Okay, so every hour, every one of the 9 hours, her elevation decreases by 30. So this would be 9, I'm going to use the asterisk, times negative 30. And negative 30 should be in parentheses because it's a negative number. Okay. So when you fill it in here, make sure you use the parentheses. And then it asks us to calculate this amount. Well, we have a positive times a negative, so our answer is negative. And 9 times 30 is 270. And that makes sense. So if every hour her elevation decreases by 30, it's going to be 30 at the first hour, negative 60 at the second, negative 90 at the third, etc., etc. So negative 270 meters. So this was our symbolic expression, and this was our calculated amount. Okay, let's look at the next one. A baby gained 4 ounces per month for 3 months. Find the baby's total change in weight relative to her original weight. So first we're going to represent this as a symbolic expression. So let's think about what there's copies of, what's repeating. So for every month it's 4 ounces, so we have 3 months. She's going to lose 4 ounces, or 3 copies of 4 ounces. Okay, so it means 3 times she's going to gain 4 ounces, so 3 times 4, that would be our symbolic expression. And notice they're both positive because the ounces she's gaining. Okay, and the calculated amount of 3 times 4 is 12. So here's our expression, and here's our calculated answer. Let's look at the next one. Leslie bought coffee 2 days this month and charged it to her checking account. She spent $6 each time she visited the store. Determine the change in dollars in her checking account. So let's see what we're making copies of and what those copies are. So it's 2 days this month she spent $6. So that's 2 copies of spending $6. So 2 copies of, and since she's spending $6 and we're thinking of it relative to how much money is in her checking account, spending $6 would be negative because that decreases the amount in your checking account, unfortunately. So here, to write this in symbolic form, it would be 2 times negative 6. Okay, 2 copies of negative 6, and 2 times 6 is 12, and so it was negative $12 that she spent. So our symbolic expression is 2 times negative 6 with a negative 6 in parentheses, and then our computed calculated result is negative 12. Let's look at the last one. Tally bought 60 packages of hot dog buns for her fair booth. Each package contained 8 buns. How many hot dog buns is this in total? Okay, so let's think of copies of. She has 60 copies of 8 buns. Okay, so let's write this. 60 copies of 8 buns. So each of the 60 packages has 8 buns each. So to write this as multiplication, notice nothing here is negative. No negative hot dog buns. So we have 6 times 8. Okay. And that would be our symbolic expression, and then our computed amount. Well, 6 times 8 is 48. We could tack on the 0. And this is our symbolic expression. And this is our calculated amount.